Oh, I guess you didn't hear any of that stuff because I had my microphone up out of the way. I made the rest of my little drive yesterday into Cincinnati, and shit, that guy was blocking the lights. I couldn't see. Okay, but anyways, we got our stop before we got out in traffic. Uh, we are on our way north of Indianapolis to go pick up another job that I can't pick up until tomorrow. But we'll get the pickup run, the pickup drive out of the way today so I can just grab it, the trailer, and go tomorrow. Keeping an eye out for a truck wash on the way so I can deliver a clean trailer for a drop and hook. We are nearly in Dayton, Ohio. We're going to come up there and catch I 70, take 70 over to Indianapolis. Wave hello to Indy. See if he can get able to. I hope one of you guys knows how to get a hold of Indy. My navigator doesn't know. I don't know. Watching the weather, and it looks like Hammy is going to get a lot of snow and ice. It'll be a mix. Isn't that going to be fun? Hello, Shathis.
On, my friend.
Howdy.
StreamYards is acting up. Was acting up last night too. My internet kept getting kicked off. I was trying to get into Terrence Pop's call in, and I just kept getting booted. They finally got me on though. That was awesome. I talked for a little bit, gave them my points, and then went away.
Yep.
You were there.
You sure they weren't just booting you?
You think they might have booted me? I was the last one. I was the last one on the call-in list, and I guess they felt like they needed to let me on because I kept disappearing and coming back. But I was like, I have 11 points. That's all I'm gonna say. And I got to about 6 of them, and he was like, okay, last point. I was like, all right then.
Yeah, you got to be, brevity is the font of reason in this type, when you've got a big audience like that.
Yeah.
You got so many people that want to get on, so
Well,
unless he's going to spend 10 hours on a stream.
Yeah. They had to get to their super chats. So they were trying to.
Yes, they do.
And hey, those people are paying to have their voice heard, and I'm not. So I was perfectly happy to go away.
Well,
I was just glad to be on.
When you run a for-profit business like Pop does, he does lots of great work. Don't get me wrong, but that show is for profit.
Yeah.
You got to do the super chat.
Yeah. But they did tell me to take all my unspoken points, put them in a video, and then they would link it to their channel. And I was like, that sounds awesome.
Yep.
Now I don't know if what I had to say is worth making a video about. One guy mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
Pop's right. Pop is right. You got, if you have shit to say, you need to make a video about it.
Yeah. Did you hear about the U.S. intercepting the 4 Russian planes last night?
Yep.
What was that all about? All I got was like a little brief.
Oh, just more fucking saber rattling. It means nothing. We used to do that shit all the time during the Cold War. It freaks out the timid.
I was gonna say something about the Daily Wire, and I realized that those guys over there, like Matt Walsh, doing all the speaking up about trying to support marriage, is the Daily Wire, I think, has taken it upon themselves to champion salvaging marriage as a thing, because it's kind of dying, and they're desperately trying to breathe life back into it. I think that's what their their pitch meeting was all about.
Yeah. Well, marriage could be salvaged, but it needs a huge makeover so that the laws are fair, just, and equitable to both parties. Because right now, it's not worth it for a man to get married.
Right.
I'd love to be married. I liked being married. I liked having a family and kids. What I thought was a stable home life.
Yeah. Hammerhand will tell you that the only way to bring back marriage is to take away women's right to vote. And I'm not so sure I'm 100% on that. I mean, I don't really
That'll
feel
never happen, but he's right on that part of it. But there's another answer to it that has the same implications. You give them all the fucking responsibilities men have. That means they all have to sign up for selective service.
Yeah.
They're into fucking quotas. Make sure we have 50% representation in the military in all fucking branches, in all jobs. And if we can't, if we don't have fucking enough women to do that, then by God, we'll have a smaller military.
Well, I mean, I'm on the side of women have no real business being in combat, even if they are exceptionally strong and fast for their gender.
Oh, I agree, but
Because there's
they're not.
torture.
They're never going. They're never going to agree to fucking join up to the selective service and be eligible for the draft.
I don't think they should be given the choice.
Well, if they want to vote, they have to have equal participation in the society.
Right.
And right now they don't. They cannot be fucking slaughtered for the fucking homeland.
They can't be held accountable for anything, apparently. You know, I've seen people get abused by their girlfriends, call the police, and then go to jail. You know, where she would assault him and then tell the cops that it was him hitting her, and they just take his ass to jail without question.
Right.
I've seen it, huh?
Yeah, right.
I've
Shit
seen it.
happens all the time.
I've seen it where
The
the cops
Duluth
would.
model.
Yes, I've seen it where the cops would actually tell the people, since you called us, someone has to go to jail.
Yeah, that's
And
their policy when they're following the Duluth model.
yeah, the men are automatically the aggressors.
Automatically assumed to be guilty without fucking any presumption of innocence. Yep.
I got into it with a girlfriend of mine, and she decided that she was just going to arbitrarily kick me out of her house. And I'm like, I live here. You can't make me leave all of a sudden. I'm not leaving in the middle of the night. You're not throwing me and my daughter out into the street. So she got physical with me and hit me in the face or on the forehead while we were struggling over a piece of paper that had, you know, her writing. She wrote me a letter saying, you have until this time to get out. And she wanted to take that and tear it up because that was my evidence that, you know, I wasn't leaving. And we got into it and she hit me. And I told the cops that she hit me. And they were like, why don't you come on into the station and talk to us? And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm gonna do that. Because I know how that goes. Go talk to the cops to explain to them why she started hitting me, and the next thing I know, I'm talking myself into a cell. Yeah, I was like, no thanks. That's when I realized that
Well, they wanted to get you out of there to de-escalate the situation.
this was days later where they called me and wanted me to come in because
That's different.
she countered my assault accusation with assault accusations of her own. And they were like, well, she's a woman, so she's obviously telling more truth than you are. And I was like, you guys don't give a shit about this, do you? You don't care about what's right. You just want a conviction. And after that, I realized that cops aren't here for the truth. They're here for a conviction.
Yeah, it's a business. Divorce and the legal processes surrounding divorce are a big business.
Which makes it real
Did you,
hard.
did you know that a portion of every divorce settlement, alimony, child support, all of that goes to the Judicial Retirement Fund?
Yep. That's why the judges are so keen to make it, you know, to not award 50-50 custody. They don't want to award 50-50 custody because then there's no child support payments. And if there's no child support payments, they can't get their cut. All my windows are frozen. Am I still here?
Yep, you're still here.
Okay.
I'm just not one of those people that's just going to blather on just to fill dead air space. If I don't have anything to say, I keep my mouth shut.
I just woke up with a chip on my shoulder this morning and I just want to rant and rave, run my mouth, yell at somebody. I took my pills, but I'm still feeling a bit aggressive today. Like,
Hey, pooping while standing's here. Hey, poop.
yeah, he says female cops are the worst when it comes to domestic violence. I agree. Female cops
Well,
are the
they're the
worst.
worst when it comes to almost everything.
Yeah.
It's another job women shouldn't fucking do.
Yep. I got pulled over one night and I had somebody else's wife in the car with me, and we had just come back from a show that her husband didn't want to go to, and they pulled me over because my tail light had gone out, and they decided to stand there. Two male cops and a female cop put me in cuffs, put me in the back seat, and called her husband to come get us, and sat there and lectured me on how they would not be putting up with me hanging out with their wife. And I'm like, this moral conundrum is not your problem. This whole, you're not here to lecture me on the morality of what I'm up to. You can go fuck right on off.
Well, were you on a date with this person?
No. He didn't want to go. He told me to take her. But anyway, he
Okay.
came, he
Well,
showed up. Yeah.
then you got no problem
Yeah. He showed up
morally.
and I had to leave my car there because they said the car wasn't drivable and they suspected me of being drunk, which was possible at the time. But anyway, yeah, as soon as her husband showed up, we all loaded into his truck and left. They let us go. But they wanted to make sure that I knew that me hanging out with this dude's wife was wrong. And they mostly called him to come get us, so they knew that the husband knew I was with her. And I'm just like, whatever. We're all gonna get in the truck and go. They're still together. I don't think they like each other anymore.
Well, that happens.
I heard he
Women change.
yeah. They've got 2 kids, and I just recently heard that he had to go get his mind right and took a year sabbatical in Europe, like by himself. And I'm like, who the hell takes a
It's
vacation?
over.
Yeah, who the hell takes a vacation from their family like that? So I'm thinking that she was like, yeah, go, get the fuck out.
Fucking leftist. Somebody who doesn't have any fucking sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
That's who does shit like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not 100% sure that those kids are his anyway.
Have you told him about that?
No, we haven't spoken for years.
Okay.
We apart. I only know about his life now through my brother, who sees him very rarely. He showed up at a party one night and without his wife or kids, and he was on a Harley and totally different person. We didn't even recognize his ass, but I didn't actually see him.
Yay, it's snowing.
Oh yeah, pooping while
Not,
standing.
ver-
Huh?
not very much, though. It's not snowing very much, though.
Uh, Women wonder why
Poop,
men
come on
smoke.
and hop on the stream, Poop. I can't read your book.
I was
What's up, Cube? Hook Road, and Trotwood. What great things. Did we lose you, Shathis? We must have lost Shathis. He said his StreamYard's been acting up on him. Snake, how you doing there? This guy's going 55 and a 65. It's just a little snow. Come on, guys.
Yep. Like I said,
Welcome back.
my internet kicked me off. It's been doing that a lot. I may drop off again.
I hate you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like the stream in YouTube is just sitting here with the little circle spinning. It's frozen. It's been frozen for some
You
time
should
now.
kill YouTube.
Kill YouTube.
Yeah.
It is dead.
Did you hear that Susan is gone?
I did. I was thinking about making a video about that, but I didn't want to get fired or kicked off by the new one. Pooping.
Howdy, howdy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, 5x5. Yeah,
Five by
Neil
five.
Mahoney is Susan's replacement. Done a little bit of research on his backstory, and I, brothers, don't expect much to change.
I wouldn't expect there to be any change at all, actually.
He's been around.
As long as they're run by Alphabet Corp.
Yep.
I was
More of the
surprised
same.
Twitter's still doing its Twittery thing even after Elon Musk bought it.
Well, my take on that is that Elon's smart. I mean, obviously, you can't get to where he's at without understanding, what he's had 3 different companies he's taken public. Like, I just look at it like he goes, know when to fight your battles and know when to stay silent. So I don't think this is going to be the last of him. I just certainly not like within the social media sphere. And I think that he's kind of reevaluating what's taken place with his Twitter stock and what's happened with Tesla. He's a man that I'll be patient. I'm going to continue the grind, much like Democrats. This is the one thing that I will say I give credence to the Democrat Party. They align, they coalesce, they support everything behind their party. Republicans, they're just looking for the next 2 to 4 year win. So I don't think he's gone away. I don't think it's changed. It's just he's backed off a little bit.
Well, I think he's playing his cards close to his vest, hoping that there will be some legal fallout for the actual collusion that was taking place between the 3-letter, agencies and the censors at Twitter.
Totally agree.
And if nothing happens from that, then he won't be so far out on a limb that he can't get back.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. I think he is he's looking at his hand and goes, I'm not going to raise. I'm going to maybe hold, or I'll let the other person call, and then I will play my hand at that time. So it's just, anyway, getting back to what you guys were talking about before. I mean, this is my dilemma right now. It's like, how much more that men want to stay here in this country, deal with the bullshit. You can gray ghost. That maybe works for a certain amount of time, or until you hit a alpha boss bitch and you have no other choice but to leave or get fired. You know, there's a guy that I follow. He's got a very good perspective on retirement planning, financial investment advice, or whatever. He was shocked at the 7.2 million of men that were not in the workforce, and I just said, Josh, I mean, I'm happy to go on a live stream with you. I could provide you with a lot of studies, a lot of data that would support why men are not, they're not engaged. They're either going on their own. In fact, actually, Brandon, I mentioned you as a prime example. You know, you're a mechanical engineer, and you just said, fuck it. No, I'm going to be my own independent operator, working for a company right now, but, you know, get your truck later on. But, you know, this guy is way more educated or qualified to do something with perhaps more income, depending on the hours worked. And this guy's like, I would rather make less than dealing with the corporate PC bullshit. He gets it, but he is still a trad con. He, you know, he married his college sweetheart. They've got 4 kids. He left the corporate work world, as many of us do, because he just got tired of it. But he just doesn't. He doesn't connect the dots between, you know, you came up in an era where you had the ability to get that knowledge before you got out, and now that you saw it, you did get out, and kudos to him for doing that, and to you, Brandon, for doing that. But most men don't have that luxury. You know, they're born, you know, and maybe they're 25, 30 years old. They're dealing with the current circumstances. And I'm like, I know that you cater more towards the retirement crowd than maybe the ones that are starting off or building their
You'd be
career.
surprised. I have very broad demographic, actually.
You good?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, that's hopeful. But yeah, there was a lady at work that she's like, you know, I just can't understand, you know, PWS, why you're not, you know, why you're not in a relationship or dating somebody. I'm like, well, it's more of a supply chain issue at this point. And it literally left her. I mean, it really left her kind of going, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, that's kind of beyond my. I can't come back with the standard trope of, well, who hurt you or whatever. It's like, hey, I'm not unopposed to it. It's just, you know, I look at the quality and anyway.
That was literally the first comment I got on my video. Who hurt you?
Who hurts you?
Now I've got this. I go to the Urban Dictionary and I just copy and paste the definition of who hurt you into the thing. It's like it's an attempt to avoid debating the actual topic by trying to minimize your argument because you were hurt, and it's like why would my actual experience with women, negative that it may be, actually diminish the heat of my argument? You know, wouldn't getting hurt by somebody like give you real life experience that should be more listened to? It just makes no sense. Oh, you were hurt, so your argument is meaningless. Like, what?
Well, yeah, or at least, like, you know, I came away from, you know, that self-awareness aspect of, I was hurt, I learned from it. then look at how I'm responding to it. Like, women have disassociated themselves with cause and effect that men face early on in life, and therefore they know, like, there's an ROI that's involved that women don't really have to face.
Yep.
Up until they hit the wall or a post or single mother, and then they're like, oh, and then you get on TikTok and, like, where are all the good men gone? It's like, and literally this this guy, Josh Scanlon, that a good Christian man, 4 kids, his wife is wonderful, um, but he just doesn't understand. And I would say probably his female audience probably is about 30 to 35%. He's mentioned it a couple times, like, as he's grown, but I would guess now it's probably 30, 35%. And many of them are single. They're widowers, or they're women in which that they've been divorced, and now they're worried about their financial future, and they're getting into their upper years. And I keep telling them, yeah, like, here's this study. Have you looked at this? Here's a great video from Jordan Peterson that describes how Western women are broken. He doesn't respond back to it, and, like, when I get on my his live stream and I comment, he's like, oh, there's PWS, here's that bitter guy that didn't have success in his first marriage. I'm like, look, I get it. I mean, I will fully admit, yeah, that was a shit show. I should have chosen better. But you're ignoring what I'm trying to present to you, or at least look into, and either delve further or say or dismiss or whatever. But he just doesn't want to get into it. And I don't know if it's so much ego as much it is. I even, like, quoted the whole Oscar Wilde quote, like, you can either love women or you can understand them. You can't do both. So I think,
Yeah, I don't know if I put much faith in Oscar Wilde, though. He was a homosexual. I don't believe he was capable of loving them. But
but what better way from a man that doesn't really have that biological need to support them or to validate them in order to get sex? I mean, I look at it, I've got a couple of gay neighbors or whatever. We hung out at the pool. We talked about women or whatever, and they have a pretty objective viewpoint of women today versus my other neighbors that we're all hanging out. We got into this huge discussion. It eventually turned into an argument of, like, because the women got involved. They're like, Curly, you're or PWS, you're just bitter at the ones that. I'm like, I was married. I've been in multiple long-term relationships, multiple dating experiences, short-term relationships. I get how you're responding to it because you're a single mother, or you're single at 42, and you're married before. I get why you're responding this way, but I look at it as, like, that whole gay community. They're more objective than the heterosexual community of men, that they look at ways like, well, okay, I know it's fucked up, but we still want access to the peace sleeve. So I agree with you, Brandon, but I also think Oscar Wilde can look at it from a certain detachment aspect.
yeah. Well, and here's another thing that'll blow your mind. Um, my demographics, I have over a little bit over almost 21%, over 20%, but 20.9% of my audience is female.
That's mind-blowing, actually.
And I have zero place for them on the platform. I regularly tell them to go away. And yet the number continues to increase.
That was something I noticed a long time ago, was that for some reason women are able to exclude men from spaces, but men are completely unable to exclude women from spaces. And if you try to exclude them, they will attack you.
Oh yeah,
Like the
Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. I mean, that's been
yeah.
co-opted.
It reminds me of
Yeah.
the whole safe space argument at that one college where they decided they didn't like that. They decided that their teacher was a racist, and so they all, while he was doing his lecture, they're all in the hallway screaming, "This is what men's rights looks like," and over again. And eventually, he had to leave. They actually came and said, "You're just, you're causing a disturbance, so you have to leave," rather than
The
these
students
500 women are assaulting you. They should leave.
was that the same? I mean, there's been a couple instances that I'm aware of, but was that where as that professor, like he didn't grade on the curve?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of like Project
And
Veritas,
that
James
that
O'Keefe.
happened at Evergreen University in Washington State,
Yeah.
which is an absolute fucking leftist shithole. They've gotten several of their professors fired for not being woke enough. There's always some type of drama coming out of there.
If I were an accredited instructor for colleges, I would be very careful today where I worked. I would definitely not even apply to a woke college like
They're
Berkeley.
all woke.
Yeah, well, I know, but there are some schools that you can like, some schools here that aren't that bad, as far as the wokeness goes. Um, the I doubt that University of Alabama is very woke, or
You'd be surprised.
well, compared to Berkeley, they're downright conservative. They
I
don't,
mean, the only
they don't.
difference between working at a conservative college and a liberal college, if you're not woke enough, at a conservative college where the student faculty don't buy into wokeness, a woman just has to have a false accusation and you're done,
Yep.
unless you
Which,
really have the wherewithal to fight it and proof.
which is why my first video on my channel is very simply, all women are a danger to all men, and that was it.
Yep.
That's the whole video. And I've gotten 30 comments so far. Most of it yelling at me, calling me a racist.
Well, with that, like regards to the whole college community, I was talking with a neighbor and she's got a son. I'm like, you do realize right now that for every college person on campus, there's 2 women for every 1 man, and that's
Yep.
changed significantly over the last 30 years.
Yes, it has.
And as a mother, single mother at that, but not to digress, but I'm like, as a mother, what are you teaching him to look out for? To teach him to focus in on his career, his grades, his study, his field of study. Because come on, college for a lot of people, especially women, it's either an MRS degree or it's a temporary holding pattern until they get into the adult world where they're still taken care of by daddy. Or in some cases, like the government, student loans, single mom, or whatever. But I mean, I mean, college back in the probably I want to say the 60s or 70s, but prior to the 1990s, the college degree, even if it was liberal arts, if you got a poli sci, they taught critical thinking. Now it's critical race thinking,
Yeah.
and there was an element of where the professors challenged you. They made you think, and instead they can't do that. I mean, there was a professor that he didn't give enough A's because he was like, no, I mean, it's all based on the curve. People can produce and learn and what they want to digest and understand. They have the opportunity to provide that understanding back given the weighting criteria, and it was like you're too tough. And I can't remember this professor, but he was boycotted, and basically he was shamed for saying I have standards. I'm not going to give everybody, if they're a marginal student, a C. You're a marginal student shouldn't be a C. That should be the basic level of understanding. Marginal should be a D, and if you're really substandard, you're an F. But nowadays, it's well, you're either racist, you're sexist, you're transphobic, depending on that gender. I mean, fuck me, I would not want to be unless you have tenure, and that's a whole another separate. Actually
Yeah.
worked at my alma mater back in the '90s, late '90s, and I saw it back then where I worked in the engineering school with their co-op program, and I was their director of placement, and I literally had companies come to me, government companies or government agencies say, because we had criteria. We said, hey, we've got computer science majors, ISE majors, ME, EE, like, and then give us your whatever your GPA and how long, sophomore, junior, whatever. And co-op programs back then were great. It was a good win-win for both the student and for the employer and for the school. But I'll never forget, Port Hueneme came to me and said, we need more diversification. And I said, you know what? I can't give you based on race. I can give you based on their studies, based on their GPA, based on if they're a sophomore or junior, and that's it. So I sent them all over there, and of course they interviewed several, and they picked this black female. She was I think she was a civil engineer, but they wanted a computer science. And at that time, there was a finite amount of scholarship money or financial aid for her to complete her degree. Like she had no, I'm sorry, let's see, 10 semesters. So she had 4 years plus 2 additional semesters. And they convinced her, and these guys were going in and they were making $30 an hour, which at that time, that's fucking great money. They convinced her to switch her degree from, or convince her to change her degree to computer science. And she did a semester on, semester off. She had to come back. We had to meet, and like you're not going to complete this. I mean, she was not somebody in which that she had all of her expenses paid. Like, she had full tuition remission, but like you're not going to be able to ride this out given what they want you to change. And I laid it out for her, and I said, if you change your major at this juncture, she was a rising junior. I'm like, you're like literally logistically, you will not be able to do it. You will have to come out, probably spend 2 semesters, half a year, in order to get your computer science degree. But at that time, she was making, $28-30 an hour, and she decided to. And I stuck around in that position for a couple years after. She never went back to school. She never got her degree. Have no idea where she turned into. But I'm like, a prime example of where this is like, again back in the late '90s, where, and I could tell you several other stories in terms of the admissions. I used to work for the admissions department prior to that first year out of college, and these students that would come in from community colleges, they were minorities, and they basically are like, hey, Berkeley's going to give us, or give me a stipend plus a scholarship, full ride. So they're paying me to go there. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Our school will give you there's full financial aid coverage. Yes, part of that, including myself, I had 40% of my college paid for based off of work study financial aid. I'm like, do you not realize, like, if and he was a top minority student. I mean, UCLA was after him, Berkeley. He's like, I want to try and get into Stanford if I can. And I just said, do you not realize by taking that type of approach, you're denying other people, other minority students that would like to go to college? And he was like, hey, you know what? I don't care. I mean, they're willing to offer me this. So if you can't give me money, literally like money, like it's outside of like room and board, food, basically paying that person to go to college, like you're not really in the running at all. And then my girlfriend at the time, she was a second generation immigrant from Russia. She was white, and she was coming away with $23,000 in student loans when she graduated, which that's I don't know how much that would be today, but probably over 120,000. But she was white and she didn't get any consideration. And we also had the whole SAT, GPA. We had a grid that was used for non-white people, and at that time was is pretty much just blacks, Hispanics. Um, so we had different criteria where you could get in and qualify for scholarships that white Asians would never have the opportunity to.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely stacking the deck. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I have a little fact. Frost, are you still here? Yes, you are. Now, pooping. Did you know that in Hawaii that you're allowed to laugh as long and as hard as you want?
No.
There's no law prohibiting you from laughing very loudly. But culturally, they would prefer a low ha.
Really, like within the Hawaiian community, like you are expected to be more demure, less vocal. I'm
They
trying to
would
follow you on
prefer
that.
a low ha. Aloha? Come on, man.
Oh, gotcha. Bum, 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 bum. Got another shot. Uh, you know what? If you had said, "Hey, remember my shorts?" Just think about that for a second, and then I'd be like, "Okay, I'm getting into the humor aspect." Okay, yes.
Okay.
Aloha.
Sorry about that. I saw Frost and it reminded me of Hawaii, and that was my Hawaii joke.
Yeah, I wish the best for Frost, but man, I've got a college friend that moved back there. Man, I mean, in order to get away, yes, if he has something that's remote, but I mean, she's even commented, she's a single mother now too. And I would not say that she's a conservative by any stretch, but she's fucking sick of, Chinese that are coming over, buying up a bunch of property in Hawaii, hotels and so forth. She's like the demographics, she was born and raised there, but she's like, I'm fucking sick of it. Like, we don't have a sense of community. We have like this whole, I don't know, kind of like dissension between the islanders, the people that have come over with a bunch of money, and particularly the Chinese, because they don't integrate. It's just they're like, we have the money, and therefore this is what we want. And the politicians, the folks on the real estate commissioning aspects, the rezoning, they're willing to do what is necessary in order to bring in the tax revenue. I mean, she actually left New Orleans. I mean, she's native born Hawaiian, went to school out west, um, lived there for a number of years, went to New Orleans for kind of more of a, I don't know, like a mix of different cultures and so forth. And she left there because it was like, it like, she kind of considers herself more on the African American side than she does the white side, which I think is just asinine that anybody says I have to pick a side. But she left there because she was like, no, I got robbed 3 times. I got my car broken into 5 or 6 times. Got held up by gunpoint on the street. She was like, I was done.
Well, you've traveled overseas, right?
Yep. Yep. Portugal and Cambodia, Thailand, Spain. Yep. I mean,
When
not
you
not
go
a huge
overseas,
amount.
do they call you white or do they
No,
call you an American?
dude. I mean, that's one of the things I loved about Portugal. You would get on a train or a bus. You had people from the Middle East. You had, people that were
Well,
Egyptians.
to my point, do they call you an American or do they call you a white man?
No, I was the American, and
Right.
it wasn't white
And did you
American.
see it? Did you see any blacks over there? Any African Americans?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
they were
what did
more
they
from
call them?
Trinidad. Um,
The African Americans,
yeah,
not people from other countries.
yeah. There were a huge amount from Trinidad, and yeah, I mean, they were
That's
like,
another country.
they were black. I mean, they didn't even reference. People didn't look at skin
You're
color
not
the same
following
way.
me. Were they Americans? People from Trinidad are not American.
No, no, there was no African American. It was like you're American, doesn't matter what color of skin,
Okay,
really
so
really based on your accent.
have you traveled around where there's African Americans
Well, I live here in the South.
over o-
Oh no, no, not
overseas?
overseas. I mean, other than multicultural, no.
Well, let me tell you, because I was in the Navy, and you know what they called all of us? Didn't matter what color our skin was. They called us
Americans.
Americans.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they did not see the difference. They were like, your accent tells me that you're from America because you speak English, you have a certain dialect. It's different than
The way you
ours.
dress,
The
you're
way you
American.
dress. Yep. Yeah, there was no this hyphenation of, oh, you're Caribbean American or you're African American or, you're Trinidad American. They really and most people didn't give a shit. They were like, hey, you know what? You know, my mom is from Angola. My father is from Portugal. They married. They had a family. Their whole aspect of multiculturalism is so different than what we have here. I mean, they
Well,
truly
it's
live
what we
more.
used to have back when we embraced the melting pot.
Yep. Well, they have more of an attitude of the MLK perspective of look at the content of one's character. Like, are you a fucking jerk? And unfortunately, I will say a lot of Americans there had a certain entitlement or attitude that didn't bode them well. Like if the train was
No,
like 15, 20 minutes late and they had a connecting, they got all pissy. Whereas people that grew up in that country, like, hey, just
relax
kind of
and go
go
with
with
it.
the
Yeah,
flow. Exactly.
yeah. I've been around people like that when traveling too, and they're not any fun. And they come in all flavors from all different countries.
Yeah.
I find
I,
that the Germans are very fucking pissy when shit's
I,
not on time.
I was just going to comment on that, Brandon. Yes. Which I get. That's just part of their culture. And,
Yeah,
in some aspects, which is, again, why they don't
but
really
the
make any.
Italians, fuck the Italians don't care.
Well, it's like, hey, let's go to the cafe. We can come back and have an espresso or have a glass of wine, and it's just like come see, come saw. It just was not a big deal.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah. There was a couple from America at the Airbnb that I was at in Portugal, and they were really pissed because they got charged for an extra. They were they didn't check out until like 6 o'clock, and checkout time was 12. And
right.
the Portugal host was saying, "I'm sorry, but this is what you're when you signed up for it, you knew." And they could not believe that they would not be given an exception. And then they started going, "Oh, you're trying to like, rip us off, trying to get extra money." And I just said, "Look, man, you signed the agreement. It's not for them to make sure that you uphold to it. And if you didn't uphold to it, you knew up front what the cost was. Just let it go. It's like $40. Come on. You're being a fucking dumbass at this point." And man, they were
Yeah.
pissed. I'm like, ah. So this is kind of why I want to go. I don't know. I want to go back to the Thailand or Philippines. both have their both redeeming qualities. I just America.
I wish we could buy. I wish we could buy property. I know why they don't do it. You know, it keeps it affordable for the locals,
There
and
is a
I
way.
understand that.
I mean, you can buy property, but you won't own it permanently. Like you
Well,
can get a non
actually, that's
like
not
Mexico.
true. There's a way you can do it in the Philippines, but you have to do it as a corporation
Yes.
with a majority Filipino shareholding.
Yep. Like you won't own it within your own name. You'll have a lease, kind of like much like Mexico, within 25 miles of the coast. No non-Mexican citizen can live or buy property. And Thailand, if it's 51% owned by Thais, now my issue is that condos, yeah, 10 years from now, you don't know what's going to come next to you, the tear down, the build
No,
up. I would never
or
buy
even if they'll be maintained.
or maintain, right? I wouldn't buy in a southeastern country. I mean, if you look
No,
at the
you're
cost
better off
benefit,
renting.
yeah, like you're not going to have the appreciation because it's a developing country. So you're going to have maybe another 3 or 4 star condo that comes up next to you, and yours is 10 years old. Good luck trying to sell it. So even if you,
Well,
I mean,
the one thing that you might want to think about on that is, do you see the dollar going into hyperinflation?
well,
And
yes.
if
I
you,
mean,
you
see
know, if
that.
you buy, if you lease and then build, you know, because you get a 25-year lease in the Philippines, or a 50-year lease in Thailand, or 100 or 99-year lease in Mexico. You know,
No,
those are the longest leases you can get in those three countries.
yeah.
And if you build something, what? How old are you going to be in 25 years?
No, I look at it
Me?
that
I'm going to be 75.
yeah. No, I look at it as if you want to build and you're really happy with where you're at, just recognize it. It would be better to put in your if you decide to get married there, because in the Philippines at least, divorce really isn't an option. I mean,
No,
they do grant it, but it costs around $10,000 to get that divorce
it's not even a divorce. It's an annulment.
annulment.
It's in the
Yes.
eyes of God, and this has never happened.
Yep. But most Filipinos don't have that kind of money that they would put into it unless she comes from a really wealthy family. So I would never, I wouldn't buy anywhere in Southeast Asia because who knows what's going to happen. You had Duarte and the Philippines. Um, what happens if you have travel restrictions and you can't travel outside your province, much like they had in Thailand when the whole COVID thing was going on?
Yep.
There's a guy, No Time to Be Sad. He's got a YouTube channel. I think he came from Michigan. Had like 2 auto body shops, sold his business, had a Thai girlfriend, became his wife. They wanted to move back there. He's living a great life. Has he bought property? No. They live with her parents. They live above, the parents' place they've owned for 2 generations, and his dad or his father-in-law rather has a shop, and he makes the whole tuk-tuk automobiles. I mean, he's like you have to adjust with where you're going to, but
Yep.
he said, man, because they go back like every year to see friends, family, and he's like, when he comes back, so glad to be back in Thailand. I mean, yeah, there are challenges. You have to be patient, much more so than what we are here. But he's like, I
You
would
have to be
never.
conscious of people losing face.
A
That's the
face, yes, face is a big thing over there. Like you don't, you may win in the front run, but long term, Philippines too. Like you might win the
yeah,
argument, but dude, they're going to have everybody, their friends, their family, and they're going to get retribution at some point.
yeah, yeah. All right, I will be back shortly. It looks like we have somebody else coming in, so I'll get you a little friend to talk to.
All right, cool. Is who was that? Thanos that was on before? Is he still on?
That was Shathis, and
Shathis.
this is my extraordinary uh, partner on the road. This is Hemi Four Speed, the one and
Emmy.
only, the Super Wrench, coming here to entertain. I'll be right back.
How's it going, Curly?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm just going through the pet store here to get some stuff.
Did you ever get that plumbing fiasco that you were trying to?
Part of today's excursion was a few more parts for that, so I'm going back to work on it. More work on it today.
Good deal. Now it was good. It was good catching up. I think it was just you, Chaos, and I at one point, and I kinda
Yeah,
like
nice and intimate.
smaller. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say I like the smaller. I don't like getting on these live streams where there's 8 or 9 people because I have a tendency to talk. I don't mean to over talk, but when you get on a tangent or whatever, you just kind of lose track of, well, yeah, there are other people listening to you. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's nicer when it's a smaller group. You can actually be heard. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. No, I'm listening. I'm trying not
Oh,
to talk.
put
over
my
the
phone
screen.
in my pocket. So StreamYards is funny sometimes, it disconnects me and a little doggy with me.
I've had an issue with StreamYards. Like I'm talking, and when I look at like the YouTube, I don't hear myself, so it like drops out.
905 435 8164. 64. Yeah, I'm not a member or anything. Five.
We have here. Oh, so little.
Yeah, she's
Oh my
tiny.
God, she's like, oh my God, I think you're doggy.
Hey, your little dog.
Precious. Is her name Precious?
You have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, the girls love the little dog, man. Oh, she's just so cute.
Oh yeah. Hey, can I introduce you to a long dark chasm and some chicken bones? Would you like it?
Exactly.
You're a size 14, aren't you?
You're gonna make a lovely skin suit. Put the lotion on the skin. Oh fuck.
Mm.
That's a good one. You know what? I think even keeping a bitch in a hole is still too much trouble. I'll be honest with you.
Given what's the return? You got to feed her.
Got to feed her.
For what? For a bunch of
Yeah.
mouth, Yeah.
Get lipped off every time I interact with her. I guess I get the enjoyment of hitting her with the hose every so often, but I don't know. That's going to wear off.
That gets
Maybe
old after a while.
Yeah. Maybe I'll up the ante to it, like a fire hose or something like that. Something that can like knock her off her feet.
I'm thinking taser at this point, just to watch. Her
Yeah. Fill the hole with water and put a fucking electric cord down in there.
Like, hey, honey, look, I'm making you. People do this all the time with expensive electronics to build up their muscles. You need to listen.
Yeah. Dr. Ho. You've heard of Dr. Ho, right?
No, huh? Who's that?
No, he's like that infomercial guy that sells those basically electro stim weight belts or stuff. People to put around. I can lose weight while I sit and watch TV
And eat Cheetos.
and eat Cheetos. Look at this, my belly.
Oh, look at my
I'm
belly.
doing I'm doing crunches as we speak.
Right.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't think
you're
it works that
talking
way.
about those electrostimulators?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the ones that squeeze every last drop out of you at the donation site. You know, just the ones for weight loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon's got a
Then
story
they're
about
at.
an electro stim.
Thank God it wasn't me.
Holy
That's
shit!
really glad. That's secondhand knowledge.
tell enlighten pooping as to that one.
I had a friend. He was always, one of those go-getters, always doing, a side hustle here, a side hustle there. And one time he decided to donate a little bit of sperm to get paid for it. Sounded
Dude,
like a great idea.
don't
But
tell me he had that thing inserted up his ass to help.
no. He said it was sort of like a little paddle, but they stick it underneath your balls and they shock your nuts, and you give mass quantities of
Bull semen.
baby batter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
they're not
probably
going to
did
pay.
that.
They're not going to pay for a couple of drops. They want the full Monty.
That's right.
Well, y'all have seen those articles now where, sperm banks are, I mean, they're not able to get the numbers that they need because men have woken up. Like several states have said, well, you can go back because of genealogy and DNA and, genetic testing and so forth are concerns that, you're no longer anonymous. I mean, I donated a couple of times in college to get some beer money, frankly, at that time. But would I do it now? Fuck no.
Yeah, and on top of all that, they can come after you for child support.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's the main reason that people decided not to do it. Having somebody walk up to me on the street and say, "Hey, Daddy," I could handle that. But
As long-
having some bitch walk up and serve me papers,
Yep. Platelets are much better result. I mean, if you really do need money, but then again, I'm like, if you're that destitute, why the fuck are you going to college? Like, if I had to go back and do it over again, trade all the way. Technical trade, deep sea underwater diver that had welding skills. Dude, these guys are making 130, 140 easy.
they were making that 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Probably making
they're
200 or 300
200 now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it literally probably was about 15, 20 years ago that I read about these guys. Like, dude, I mean,
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Or
Yes.
another one that requires absolutely no skill, but you got to be in good shape, is the guys that climb the towers to change light bulbs.
Yeah, I actually met two guys that they were just here for like a week or so, hitting all the cell phone towers. And I'm like, hey, just, you don't have to tell me exactly what you make, but like, what's your average income? They're like $60, $80 an hour, depending on the contract. I'm like, did that require any? It's like, yeah, we had to go through training, safety certification, drug test. They're drinking like fish with me out there, but yeah, we're not working tomorrow. Bad weather. So you guys have all your expenses paid for. You're living in a hotel. Yes, you're away from your family if you have one. These guys were like probably in their early 30s. They're like, everything that we make, we pretty much bank. We don't really spend anything other than like tonight. We have a stipend per day when we're on the road. It's $40 a day. Unless we go crazy, you can make money off of that. And we get our hotel paid for, transportation is all paid for. Everything is all pretty much it's all profit. I'm like, dude, that's fucking brilliant. I mean, yeah, people that work in corporate America for 20 years aren't making that kind of dough at all.
Nope.
But there was this one lady that, I mean, one of the guys was pretty good looking. And I mean, you could tell this one girl that was at the bar with us, and she was kind of trying to, you know, catch signals or get some IOIs. And he was like, you know, like, you know, she went off and she met back with her friends. And I just said, dude, she was obviously interested. And he's like,
Jimmy, I think we lost him.
Oh, I thought you lost me.
Anyways, if you were one of those tower climbers, you'd be in really good shape by the end of the
Oh
first
yeah.
year.
Oh yeah. I'm in lineman, any type of lineman job, man. You got to climb fucking hydro poles, or,
Yeah.
you know, cell tower. Fuck. What? You know, there's that whole afraid of heights thing. You know, not everybody can do that.
yep.
Oh, it
Oh,
sounds like
Poop, are
he's
you
back.
back?
Yeah, my headset got disconnected for a second.
Now it's
Yeah.
really, really quiet.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. No, I don't know when I cut off there, when the microphone detached, but yeah, this girl was, you know, and I told him after she went back to her girlfriends, I'm like, dude, I mean, she was, you know, clearly kind of vibing on you. He's like, man, if you've been doing this, you know, I've been doing this for 7 years. After the first two, you kind of question how much energy do I really want to deal with this. I mean, she was I don't know, she was not an unattractive woman, but she was not very attractive. And he just said, it's just, I mean, you go through the same trial up every single time. You get their interest, they're interested in you. You spend a bunch of money on drinks. You have, you know, good time. You go back to your place. You do the deed. The next day, you're off on a job site. You work for another 2 days, and you're gone. So he's like, you know, this guy was like, you know, I would say 28 to 32, and he's like, it's just has lost its luster. It's just, I mean, yeah, you can kind of purge the demon seed out of you, but it's not really worth it when you factor in the amount of money that you would have to pursue it, and then there's no investment because you're gone. So why really take that time or energy to pursue it? Like, yeah, I can totally get that. I mean, they travel all around the southeast to do cell phone towers, and he's like, yeah, we have a contract for maybe a month or two in one area. We're hitting in a geographical region anywhere from 200 to 500 miles. And then after that, we go home for a week or two, and then we're back on the road again. So there's not really a home life balance per se. Is not conducive to having a family. But
Well, that's one of the reasons it pays so well.
well, yeah, exactly.
That's one of the reasons I chose the job I did. Is you get that differential because there are people with families that do this job and they want to get home. And if there's somebody that's a road warrior like me that doesn't have anybody they've got to go home to, you can really clean up.
It. Yep. So, are you looking at becoming like an independent operator in 3 or 4 years?
That depends on the market.
Yep.
If I do go that route, I'm going to save up enough to buy with cash. I'm not going to finance it.
What is financing like for, like, what are rigs cash nowadays? Like 230, 280 or used?
Well, you don't really want to get a used one unless you have your own shop and can do all the maintenance and stuff. Because they're pretty high maintenance, preventive maintenance. So that's one of the things that I'm, that is a balancing point for me would be, the maintenance on the vehicle. Now, what you make as an owner operator is between $3 and $5 a mile,
Mhm.
whereas as a driver, you
Nope. BT cut out. Brandon?
He got a phone call. He got a phone call from a telemarketer, I bet.
Speaking of auto warranty service, so Hemi, my dilemma is I would like to, kind of BT back. No, my issue is I don't want to live. I live in a mid-sized city comparatively in the southeast, and homes around here are, for a halfway decent home on any property is 450 on up. If you live within 50 miles of like a major city. And then, the whole concept of getting 15, 20 acres in a more rural part, then I'm like, all right, so you're living in a more rural part for what would that be? Probably $1,800 a month for that property for your mortgage payment. And then I'm thinking you could go and live in the Philippines. Hell, you could even live in Taiwan for $4,000 a month. You're not going to live high in Taiwan, but in the Philippines or Thailand, 25 to 3 would be, you would be balling it. So I keep going back like it might be a one-way ticket, but then I'm like, I look around, I take my dog out a couple of times a day and, run to other dog owners or just people walking or whatever. And just the attitude that people have is just, they're at best you'll get a nod or a smile, or if they have another dog, your dog wants to stop and play with them. Maybe it's like a 2 or 3 minute like interaction. They're like, okay, need to go. Totally get that. But it's that whole, why would you spend that kind of money to be close to amenities when at the end of the day, you can order whatever you want on Amazon. It's not really that big of a deal to be further out, but then you're going to be paying a premium, or not a premium, but you're going to be paying a price to be further away to get away from everybody. Like how is that really living? Like it's so far from what I grew up in, where you knew your neighbors, kids were playing in the street, wiffle ball, stickball, soccer, football, whatever. But nowadays it's just people don't interact. So
No, kids don't go outside now.
no,
When I was a kid, my play radius was probably like 2 miles from my house. My kids, I saw it. Their play radius might have been the front yard. If that.
Mhm.
They hardly go down the street. They like, I don't know.
No, it's all organized play dates now. Like, organized, physical activities, sports events. Yeah, it's so.
Yeah, we'd have pickup hockey games on the street. You don't see kids doing that anymore, ever.
No.
They just play NHL 2023 on the PlayStation.
Yeah, their friends are. I mean, yeah, like even my nephews. They're 20 years younger than me, 25. Vast majority of them, they are either friends from college, a handful, and the rest of them are friends from social media with like interest, or like
Yeah,
one plays a lot of video games, and yeah, he's married, so it's not like he is some weird introvert, but like, I talked to him about it. Like, how do you think things have changed just since you went to college? He's like, yeah, well, most of my college friends, they live far away. You try and pick up the phone 2 or 3 times and call them. If it's not reciprocated, then you just kind of say, oh, well, they're in a different stage of their life or different
yeah,
priorities. You kind of stop making the effort, and then you resort to those people, those buddies that you have commonalities with and like interest in. And that's for most men, it's either a local sports, local team that you go and watch the games with, or it's video games.
yeah.
Or MGTOW.
Or MGTOW, yeah. But it's so, well, I mean, I'm sure, Brandy, you've seen this where, man, trying to introduce a man to the red pill content, even though they may be red pill, but if you start spewing some of the concepts and why are you wasting your time doing that, or you need to put your girlfriend in check or your wife in check. Yeah, it for me personally, it's not gone very well. Like, they look at you going, you're, well, there's a reason that you've been single for 3.5 years. I'm like, uh, all right. Um,
And the answer to that is yes, there is.
well, yeah, no, you're right. It's like, I think I mentioned this, that, you know, I had a female colleague ask me, because she knew of my divorce and then my subsequent relationship of almost 6 years, and she's like, well, Curl, I just don't understand why you haven't found anybody yet. I'm like, it's just more of a supply issue that it is anything else. Like, I'm not unopposed to it, but much like women, it's going to be on my terms. And I've yet to meet a woman that wants to compromise. When she says we need to compromise, it's generally meant I have to concede to what she wants. And I've
Yep.
done that, and I'm not doing it anymore. Um, I lost a lot trying to appease my ex-wife, and I'm not doing it again. Period.
You can't appease that what is never happy. You can't appease that what is never satisfied.
Well, yep. Hammy, you're spot on. Like like
You're
one of
spot on like dot and cotton.
the yeah, I just look at it
You
like
know,
in order for me to appease means I have to sacrifice. I've done that. Like, if it was going to work out, it would have worked out in my 20s and 30s. Now that I am right now, it means she probably has unrealistic standards, expectations. And much like my ex-girlfriend, I'm like, we have a mutual friend, and she's like, I don't understand why you and Don didn't work out. You guys were perfect together. You guys like love the same music, love camping, music fest, traveling, shooting. And I'm like, well, look at what happened with her first husband. I mean, the exact same thing that she said that she left him for, it was exactly where she went to, where he wasn't spending enough time with her. and she used to work as a bartender. Huge red flag, first of all. And I knew that I knew that when I dated her, like, we're going to have fun until we don't no longer have fun. So the best that I got for her was like a $300 TV for her birthday and Christmas present, because I wasn't going to spend what I did on my ex-wife. But when she started to go into where I want to hang out with my single friends and it became a situationship instead of relationship, I just kind of like reacted the same way that she probably would have with me. Like, I pulled away and stopped investing, stopped giving her time and attention. And she was like, well, we're just different people now. I'm like, well, hey, I get it. I didn't even get into the whole aspect of I'm doing, I think, probably what your ex, I don't really know the circumstances, but you guys were together for 8.5 years, college sweethearts. You can make it work with a man that you dated since your sophomore. What would make me think that you and you were only married for 14 months and you became unhappy? What would make you think that I would? So
Yep.
I just look at them now as like they're fun for the moment.
Oh, we lost Hammy. Oh well. Hammy will be back.
No, I always like, tell people that, like, I always look at you, Brandon, of somebody that you could have, and I'm not going to say that I know your culture of the workplaces that you worked in, but I work for a large A&E firm, and I could, I mean, I could say without a doubt, it used to be your principals, your head of each department, your MEs, your electrical engineers. They had responsibilities, and the women that came up
Yep.
underneath them, I was on the business development side, and and I had to do all the proposals and do the RFPs and put together the right teams that I thought would be a good fit, given the personalities of the people that we were looking at. Having to look at like minority involvement. Like, we did a major sports arena here in the city that I'm in. We had to hire a civil engineering firm. They literally did not do shit. They didn't do any of the stamps. They were on the RFP and that was it. And they got paid for it. But we had to do it in order to get even a shot at the proposal. And everybody that was competing for it, like the turning whitings, um, everybody knew that you had to have a certain percentage, and most of those minority firms didn't do anything.
Well, check this out. We had I was involved in several satellite programs, most notably the VIIRS system, which is it's so bumpy. Anyways, it's an imaging system that measures several different wavelengths of infrared light across the planet, and it's used for both research and military applications. And we had a guy in Titusville who had been building wiring harnesses for the defense industry and NASA since the 1960s. And we convinced him to sell his company to his wife. And they were both like partially Seminole Indians, and she was, a woman, of course. And nothing changed at that company except the ownership paperwork.
MWBE makes all the fucking difference.
And
Minority
by
women.
having them do that, we were able to get, we were able to cross. We had to have a certain percentage of minority and female-owned businesses, and we hit 2 boxes with one try. And this guy, the contract was a big one, so we were able to convince him to sell the company to his wife, and he still runs it. She doesn't do a thing about it other than her name's on
It's all on paper. Yep.
the paper. Amazing.
Yep. Saw
But
it
by
happen.
God, that was some. They would. Their son, who was about my age, took me out hunting a couple of times, and we went pig hunting on the back of an airboat. That was fun.
I would love to,
Oh,
dude. If I knew somebody in Texas that had access to a helicopter to rent and do some feral hog hunting, get in on that.
oh yeah, you can rent that.
That would be so much fun.
Oh, you can actually go to a place in Texas called the Demolition Ranch,
I've
and
seen it.
you.
Now, is this the same YouTube channel guy?
I don't know if it's the YouTube channel guy, but you can. It's a place it's between Austin and San Antonio, and you can hunt hogs with a tank if you feel like it.
Damn. that would be that would be beyond fun. Like I would do that instead of going out to Las Vegas and doing a machine gun in a range or whatever.
I think it's like $1,500 for a morning or an afternoon, but still.
A lot of money, but for a once in a lifetime, that's not that much, you know.
It's a World War II tank. It's a Sherman tank.
Mm-hmm.
So. But I just, it would be a complete rush to be able to shoot a pig with a 30 millimeter?
Yeah, you wouldn't have much
Cannon?
of a pig left, but hey,
No.
you'd be doing the environment a cause. You just got to lead them more, Brandon. Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Do you feel, what is it, hunting women and children? Yeah, you don't lead them as much.
Right.
Jesus.
Oh.
And I've hinted to you a couple of times. I would, I would definitely like a buddy to travel with when I'm going overseas the next time.
Yeah,
But,
let me know. All right, so I do mainly consulting. All right, so I have my main gig and I do consulting work. I'm trying to get the consulting work to be at a point where I don't need much, and obviously overseas you don't need much at all. So I'm trying to get my consulting work to where I can, and it's all project based, mainly spreadsheet. It's like the time difference. I might have to get up early to get on phone calls, whatever. I don't care. I mean, I'm happy to do that.
yeah.
So I am kind of conflicted right now I have a semi goal of, because I got a shit ton that I would have to sell. Some guns, reloading equipment, beer equipment, furniture, etc. And I'm a very, some people call me cheap, but I like to consider myself frugal. So I don't want to sell it just at a fire sale. But I have a semi goal of like August, September. Either I'm
going to be getting off in September. I'll have my year worth of solo driving in September. And I'm going to be switching companies at that point in time. And I was going to take a month off between driving for the company I'm driving for and the company I'm going to drive for next.
Well, dude, I'm definitely down. I mean,
I'm pretty much Southeast Asia is, and I don't want to go to Thailand because I've been there a couple of, like 5 times in the Navy.
Philippines is where I like. If I know you've been to the Philippines, I think you mentioned that before when you're in the Navy. But
yeah, I've been there. We went when Mount Pinatubo blew up.
Well, my goal, like, when I went to Portugal, was more of a scouting for retirement. So I want to go to Cebu, then hop on the ferry,
That's
go over
that's
to.
that's my goal too.
Okay, yeah, let me know. I mean, or let's stay in touch on that, or let's figure out
Yeah,
where we are progress wise.
Cebu, Samar, Layette. Those are the those are really And then there's this one mountain one. It's near Manila, but it's way the fuck up on the top of the mountains, and it's not so hot.
Trying to think of that
So
region.
uh,
Is it I don't know how you say this. Uh, Panglodon or Ponglodon?
I cannot. If I said something, I'd be lying to you. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm all right. So I want to check out Kuala Lumpur at some point. Would love to get to Taiwan. I don't think that I would live in Taiwan, but I definitely want to go there.
They're too
Um,
bureaucratic.
yeah, exactly. Well, unless you make kind of like Singapore. I've got a buddy that lives over there in the airline industry and loves it. But I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't live there without having company paid housing and your income or whatever. Like
Right.
unless you're making $80,000 a year at
Or
least
more.
to live there. Yeah. And I don't know what he makes, but the other one is Borneo. Want to go to Borneo, Sabao in Borneo. Want to go there. That place looks
I hadn't
like
even thought about that.
Costa Rica was. Now it's an Indonesia or a Muslim country. So if you want to party,
That's
that's not
fine.
going to
I
be your
don't care.
gig. Okay. Um, but yeah, no,
I want to meet nice, kind, caring people where I could freaking hire a nurse because I'm a monk. I'm not going for to find a wife or anything like that. I want to meet people who are genuine and honest, who will, I can trust to have a nurse when I'm old.
yep. No, I'm like when I've mentioned it to a couple of female coworkers, they're like, "Well, you just want to go over there and meet somebody 20 years your junior." I'm like, "Yeah, if that were to happen, that would be nice. That is not my purpose. I want to go there when you go
Dude,
out to a mall, people smile at you, and they talk to you. And granted, I know that they do that because you're an American. They probably look at you have wealth and means more than what they do. I get that, but yeah, the last thing, I'm not going there for the sex tourism at all. I want what we had 30 years ago in this country.
yeah, just freaking honest people going about their daily life.
Yep. Not looking at, well, how many subs do you have on social media or what's your
Yeah.
I like
I learned
I
how to speak Russian, so I can probably learn how to speak Tagalog. It's, you know what I mean? It's
right.
not a big deal.
Well, and thankfully for the Philippines, there's a guy, Rike. Well, there's two channels. What's the Philippines Alive? He's probably in his mid 50s. He's been there for about 8 years. So he's got some good. In fact, if you're really curious, I could look him up. It's Philippines Alive, I think it is. There's another guy, Vagabond Awake. He's been all over the world since 2012. He does like the slow travel aspect,
Right.
and he's got some good reports. If you want to subscribe or get his, Sully, come here. If you want to get his, he has a pay feature aspect. But there's another guy, Rike, in the Philippines. Another good guy. Another expat that left California. I think it was about 8 years ago. Actually married a Thai woman, or excuse me, a Philippine woman, but he lived with her for 18 months before
Yeah.
he proposed to her. They're not married yet. But yeah, I look at it as more of I could live what it would cost me $6,000 or $7,000 a year here. Might be half of that there, and the people are nice, and you don't have to deal with the weather or the bullshit. Like I feel like, yes, you don't have as many rights, but then you don't have as many rights violated that you might have here.
I've heard from some friends of mine in the Navy who have done the Filipino wife. Some of them brought them back to the U.S. Others of them went over to the Philippines. And I have a buddy who has died, but before he died, he was telling me, you have absolute freedom over here. The only thing you cannot do is talk about their politics. That's the only thing that pisses them off.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, they have a defamation where, God forbid, if you put on something on social media that they can actually annotate and you're disparaging another person, that's a big no-no. I mean, all gets back to that saving face in Thailand, anywhere in Southeast Asia, China. Like, face is everything. You know, your name is which is a good thing in some aspects, you know? Like, it's, yeah, you can't be talking shit about me online and disparaging me or my family. Like, we're going to come after you. And I don't say anything wrong with that. Like, here in the States, you can't really do anything unless it's a defamation, and that's expensive to prove or to take to court.
Right? Like in Thailand, you can't talk bad about the king.
Yeah, yeah. Can't step on a dollar bill that's flying away in order to trap it. Like, that's shameful. I mean, that.
Right.
I mean,
Or a
it used to
pot.
be where, or yeah, or like a coin or whatever. It used to be where that could land you in jail. I don't know if it's the same aspect today, but no, I just, I want to, like,
And a
what we
place
have
where
to,
they respect old people.
yes, yep, family is paramount. That's the one thing I really liked about Portugal was family, connected family, or family ties, or extended family. I mean, they would have like 2 generations, sometimes 3, that they all live in the same area, and they would go out for dinner, and you would see tables with like 20, 30 people, or 2 tables with 20 or 30 people. You knew that they were all part of a group, all having a good time. And then, you'd ask the waitress or waiter, like, hey, are they celebrating? Like, no, they come in probably once every 2 or 3 weeks and they get all the family together. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like, I don't need much. I want a sense of community, which I don't think we really have here right now.
No. Well, they're breaking the family. How could you have a community?
Well, exactly. Yep. Yeah, I was trying to tell.
They're still religious over there, even if they are Catholic. But I can deal with that.
Yeah, actually, I have a huge amount of respect for people that are religious. I'm not. I mean, I was raised Episcopalian, which was that the kissing cousin of Catholics or whatever. I'm not deeply religious, but I have huge respect for that. And for a lot of people, they need that type of parameters.
Well, it binds society together with a shared common value system.
Yes, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. It's. I mean, I'm somewhat envious when somebody has strong religious convictions. I mean, unless they're like off the deep end, where
look at historical examples. What's the longest lasting government you can think
of? Let's see. Not Rome. I don't know, like the Catholic diocese. It's not really
the ancient
government.
Egyptians. Until Alexander came, they were from the beginning of history until Alexander conquered them, was a stable, dominant society that went on for what, 2,500 years? Because I believe the first Egyptians started at about 5,000 BC.
Do you think that was because of the whole like hierarchical aspect, or do you think that it was
Well,
because
it was
like
a whole bunch of reasons. You know, they had a common religion. They had established, hierarchy like you're talking about. People had their place in life. There wasn't a lot of movements. You know, you were born Joe Schmo, the mud brick maker. You know, your father was a mud brick maker, and your sons would be mud brick makers.
yep.
But it was also by being, that stable. It was really easy to maintain. People weren't like pushing the boundaries, and you knew where you belonged in life.
Do you ever wonder, like, with the advent of class mobility and the ability to rise, above your class, if people are truly happier now, given the fact there's really no parameters? Like, you could start off dirt poor, and you could become a huge friggin' rap star, rock star, social influencer, movie star, businessman, whatever. Do you think that people are in general more happy? I don't personally. I think that given more it's kind of like the paradox of choice. There was that I can't think of the author's name, but the book is The Paradox of Choice, and he just looked at consumer options. So I mean, just anecdotally, like you go to a football game and somebody shoots a t-shirt out of the cannon into the crowd, you're like thrilled. But if you went down to where the stands were, where the concession stand were, like, hey, if you give us a ticket, you have one of 10 options of t-shirts. And they've shown this where if you came away with having 10 options and you chose one, you'll always look at, well, gee, maybe I should have gotten the blue one or the red metallic one. And this guy that wrote The Paradox of Choice, he looked at it he came from the Soviet Union where they had limited choice. But he showed where, like statistically, where people were less happy the more choices they had, because they always seemed to go, did I make the right decision? Like, should I gotten the oil with the mayonnaise with virgin olive oil versus just the regular Duke's Hellman's mayonnaise? Like, oh, maybe Duke's was better, or maybe the one with olive oil is better for me. Fascinating book.
Right. I'll have to check it out. It sounds like a good read.
Yeah, if like when I get back to I'll put it in the private chat, the guy's name. I read it like
Well, if
12
you want
years
to get a
ago.
hold of me, if you throw it into Discord. I never read the private chats. When I'm done driving, I just turn it off.
On Shinobi?
Yeah, on Shinobi or a few others. I think we share Shinobi though.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it is a great read. I mean, if you can
And
extrapolate
there's
that aspect.
SCE's MGTOW Discord.
Oh, you know what? That's one. Of course, I know SCE quite a bit, but no, I didn't know he had his own Discord channel. I'll look for that. But yeah, it's
not very active, so Shinobi's is much more fun.
Well, it really
We have ducks.
it woke me up to ducks. It really woke me up to where like human psychology was, where again, this, like, he wrote it from the perspective more of the 40s, 50s, when communism was still pretty prevalent. The state limited your choices either through their own methods or just supply and demand. And he just outlined where the Russian population was not happier with more like 5 different bread choices than 2. In fact, they're more happy because, if one was in limited supply, you would get to the store earlier to make sure that you got, I don't know, the black wheat versus the standard rye or whatever. And then you could correlate that to the options that people have today. You can go on Bing or Google Shopping or Slick Deals or multitude of websites where if you buy something and then 2 weeks later you see a better deal and you're like, oh shit. Like versus if you didn't know, you'd be like, I got a great deal on this. But then when you see it and you're like, oh, I could have got it for like 20% less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like at this point in my life, I want to go to, I wish I was Jewish where you could have or I wish I was Orthodox Jew where you could go to an enclave here in the US and you had a sense of community, like Halsey on TFM's channel. Like, I really envy that guy. Like he has a sense of community and purpose. Like his purpose is raising his kids. I think he's got 5, maybe 4 I know, but I think it's 5 kids, and he's got a stay-at-home wife, and he's happy because that like a man without a purpose is a man that really doesn't have a compass, and I don't see a lot of men, be it they're particularly younger men, but older men too, after they've been divorced or kids alienation, they don't really have that same focus anymore, and they're struggling to figure out, well, then what is the next step?
Well, right now, my step, what I'm planning for is I'm going to have a hobby industry to bring in money every once in a while. But if it doesn't bring in any money, who cares? But it's something to do and a comfortable place to retire and grow old.
Yeah, like get out in your wood shop and tinker or whatever. There was a guy, I had to get a washer replaced and hired a maintenance company to come out and do it. And we were talking for a while, and he was married twice, divorced, and he's like, Curly, I fix up old Shell station gas pumps, signs, sandblast them, repaint them, put enamel on, get the parts like electroplated with chrome. He's like, sometimes I make money, other times I break even, but it's not really so much about making money. He's like, even though I've been divorced
It's about
twice,
doing something.
yeah, he's like, I enjoy the results, like enjoy putting that time in and then seeing the satisfaction of having a completed looking at where it came from, rusted, pitted out. And then now I have something that looks almost brand new. Coke machines he does, goes around, like travels throughout the Southeast, and he'll take a not a fifth wheel, but like a fifth wheel hauler, and he'll go into a guy that has all these old parts that he's like, yeah, I'm going to sell it eventually. He's like, he likes the haggling aspect, the finding, the whole part picker aspect. So that's one
Right.
thing. And when he gets it, he's like, I might not work on any of these for 3 to 5 years. It's in my back shed, but I enjoy the whole process of renovating. And then for somebody else to come in and go, I love that. Like, you did a fantastic job. I'll give you this amount of money. And for him, it's not even so much the money. It's more of, this is kind of like my fun payment. And he's like, I do this like probably 10 hours a week. It's like, I do it just when I'm not busy or I want a break. I've got something else to do. I'm like, dude, you're fucking killing it. Like, you're taking your time to do something a hobby that gives you money. And did she flash you your tits or her tits?
No. A guy passing me this truck Gave me the you shouldn't be in the middle lane kind of fucking honk, and I gave him a shave and a haircut back, letting him know that he needs to calm down, and I didn't really care what he thought.
Do you see a lot of road rage? People that, I mean, one of the things that,
There-
like with trucks, like people don't realize those trucks are carrying, tens of thousands of pounds of. You can't just slip in and you have 2 car links and expect that truck not to be pissed off.
Well, there's a driving technique that I use. Uh, it's called the stone and the stream. Have you ever read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, but yes, I do remember that.
Okay. And if people are freaking zipping around and cutting you off and stuff, you slow down to about 2 miles an hour slower than the normal flow of traffic. That way, when they cut in front of you, they're going to just increase the space in front of you. You're never going to have to stand on your brakes. You know, it pisses people off behind you a little bit, but not too much. Because you keep moving, everybody keeps moving, and it's just a stress-free sort of way to drive.
Yep. Makes sense.
Because there's no way I can drive this through bumper-to-bumper traffic and not have people want to jump into my safe space.
Just allow
just-
that and then just kind of back up or not accelerate and just let the same clearance take place.
Yeah, you just go with the flow of traffic, and then you go just a tiny bit slower. Because everybody who's jumping in is in a hurry. So they're going to go away from you, and you'll maintain your safety distance.
Do you ever find it funny for those that like sit there and lane hop? And if it's back to back or whatever, after a couple of miles, they're exactly where you were.
Yeah.
I mean,
But my dad pointed that out to me when we lived in Naperville, which is a suburb of Chicago.
Mhm.
And he pointed that out to me every time we'd go into the city. He'd say, watch this guy. Where is he now? Because you'd see this guy zipping back and forth. So that's been known for a long time.
yeah, that would be the one thing that I think on the grind on a daily basis, I don't think that I can manage very well. Just people that are complete assholes, not just to trucks, but to other people around them. Like, it's not all about you. We're all in this same shit sandwich together. So going
Yeah.
back and forth, and then you reach them a mile or two later, and you're right next to them, and they're just fuming next to you.
Yeah. Hey,
biting
I
your
have a
lip.
question for you.
Yep.
What do you know about churches being able to purchase property in the Philippines?
Zero. Don't have any understanding of that.
Well, I'm a Baptist minister. I'm ordained. And that was an angle I was thinking about, was,
Have like a diocese that you could live on, and
yeah, just, buy a church and have have your rectory there. Maybe have some cloisters, we'll call them cloisters, and set it up so like other MGTOW who wanted to come and and check out the country could come and stay, like an Airbnb, in fact.
yeah, like have a better bachelor compound, but in Southeast Asia. No, I love it, man. I don't.
Just call it a religious retreat, and then actually do. I've never had a congregation, and I never have wanted one, and I still don't. But just if people, they're all Catholics over there, and if you're giving your sermon as a Baptist, I doubt they're really going to come.
I don't know. I can say that, or I can give you, like, when we're done, I'll put on Discord to you that guy that has been down in the Philippines. Rike may know as well. I think he's Catholic, given his
Yeah,
nationality. But if they don't
yeah,
know,
that's just a thought that just occurred to me right now.
I mean, the
Could
only
a
thing,
church purchase land?
yeah, the only thing that I would be a little bit suspect is that if you're trying to bypass like the foreign residents purchasing property, you're probably going to have a lot of scrutiny, which is
Yeah,
understandable. Um,
but it's also a third world country, so that scrutiny can be massaged.
true, true. Well, or depending on how much that you put, because again, you probably wouldn't be able to own it outright. You probably would have to have it under a diocese that's still either collectively owned by Filipinos. But then again, like once you die, who cares?
Right.
So there's, just give me a place that I can have some permanency in and that I can utilize for the betterment of the community. I would be surprised that the Philippines would be against that. Now, the only thing that I know, like churches, I know about their Social Security. They can opt out. If you're a pastor, you don't have to pay into FICA and your Social Security. And
That's
it's
true for
all
any
us.
church-related income.
Yeah, huge benefit. I mean, I had a friend that he's a Southern Baptist minister, started a camp, um, and we were talking years ago about what his retirement plans were, and he was like, Curly, I can take the amount of money that I would have to, because it's not 6.5%. That's what your employer pays. It's 6.5 on a sole proprietorship plus the 6.5% from the state. So if you're a sole proprietor, it's 13%, and that's a lot. And then you've got federal and state income, and he's like, that's a lot of money. But with the church exemptions, I can self-direct that. And granted, I'm not eligible for Social Security, but you have an exclusion for your domicile. Plus, that is like there's really not a good reason in which to um, like there's not a good reason in which to pay into the system where you're not going to. I mean, and again, he's excluded from it given his his church exempt status, but there's no benefit compared to the average Joe that has to pay into it. And the corporation, you're much better off self-directing that to a basic broad market index over time, way better than what you would get out of Social Security. Now,
Yeah.
not a guarantee, you do have validity or volatility in the markets, but depending on how you have it structured, a 50-50 or 60-40 asset class would be
God, I
far
wished
better.
I'd have known that when I was 30 and got this damn ministership.
Well, yep.
Oh well, hindsight's 2020.
Well, Brandon, if you knew what you knew now, you never would have gotten married, nor would I
That's
have.
very, very true.
I mean, that right there would say,
And I never would have believed I'm on the pill.
that probably would have saved collectively between the two of us probably over $1 million at least.
Well, individually, it would have saved me 2.1.
Oh. Mine. I look at not including future gains from 12 years ago now. Back then it was about 400,000. I mean, if it doubles every 7 years, roughly, that would be 800, maybe 900 or so. Yeah, but you know what? Hey, hindsight's 2020.
Exactly.
So it's more of like just making sure that younger people are aware, and they are. I mean, there's more and more that are becoming aware, but there's that balance between becoming aware and becoming black pill. Because I think once you go really down the black pill rabbit hole, that could be a very dangerous hole to try and escape from. Like,
Yeah, and I don't even call it black pill. I know a lot of people call it black pill because it sounds cool. It's just red pilled people that are depressed and are hopeless.
yeah, and they don't look at, all right, this shit happened, so what are you going to do now? You can blame society, you can blame female nature, you can blame the fact
That's
that
all
women have.
true, but you gotta just stand up and keep going. That's all it
No,
is.
exactly. Exactly. And that's where I was going with that. Like the black pill can become a black hole if you allow it to. You can take that same victim mentality that women do, but you don't have that luxury. You either float or you're going to sink. And floating requires effort and energy to stay above. So hopefully you're like moving forward towards land and something stable.
Well, I've
And
got some land, and I'm going to inherit a lot of land, but I just don't want to retire here.
is it farmable
My land?
or grazable? Yeah.
It's timber, mostly. And that fits into the off the grid portion of it that I was interested in because it's not, it's not anywhere I can have hydroelectric. So I can run a milling machine and I can run a lathe. I was going to go steam.
Like biomass.
Yeah, biomass.
There are huge tax breaks for I forgot what the right terminology is, but there's big tax breaks for tracts of land that are renewable, meaning that you can cut down trees for and then sell it to logging companies. Well, first of all, you have to get designated in order to get the tax breaks.
There's
But
the biggest tax break, or not. It's not really even a tax break. It's is when you do the managed forest, and it's for carbon credits.
yes, that's kind of what I was referring to. Like, have it.
But you got to put in hardwoods, and you got to make you got to have like 100-year plan for it, stuff like that.
Yep.
That's fine.
Or you could sell all that shit and just like say, unless you want to leave a legacy, then why work your ass off to do that? And again, every man's different, but like you don't need $1 million. You don't need $1 million to retire in the U.S. today. If you've done
No.
your top 35 years of service, your PIA from Social Security looks at your top 35 years of income. And I think the max is $3,650 per year. If you have a house paid off, if you have 36, a little bit different for single people, I get like, this guy, Josh Ganlon, it's always usually a couple that he looks at. So 3,650, his wife has never worked. She still gets half of his top wage indexed for Social Security. So that's another 1,800. 4,400 is much differently than 3,600. But since most of us are not going to get married or remarried again, that's off the table. But then again, we don't need, a 4-bedroom or 3
You don't have to
house.
maintain that money sucker either.
Mm-hmm.
Who needs new shoes every fucking 2 weeks and who wants to eat out all the time because I did the cooking for years. Bullshit. Who wants to hire a fucking maid when they have no job?
Yeah, you literally have one job to do, and you're not doing that very well. And here's the delusion too of like he broke down the average income. In fact, actually, it's complicated. Did a question or his street interviews. I love that channel. One of the best channels out there. That guy's follow up questions are fucking brilliant. But he asked like, what do you think the average income is for a person today? It's like 38,000. An average family
Yeah.
income is like 65, and that's probably assuming
And
both people work. You know.
did you? Are you talking about the one where they also asked the women what they thought the income was?
Yes. No. That. Yes. That's it's complicated. That's my point. Where he would ask like, what's the average? I don't know. 50, 80. That was on the low end. Most of them are like in the 100, 120.
Right.
Completely fucking delusional. Like,
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of like the average salary saved at 50. Most people are like, I don't know, 400, 500,000. No, it's like 120.
Excuse me.
Like they had no clue. Um, well, have you been out to that website? I got standardsbro.com.
No.
Yeah, go out. I got standardsbro.com. Put in your height, your income, your weight, married, unmarried, or whatever. I mean, it's more for women, but it kind of shows the hypocrisy. Where if you're 5'11", 6 foot, you're making $80,000 a year. It doesn't even ask whether or not what your SMV is. It just asks like basic, genetic parameters of height, weight, income, and it'll give you like based on BLS data that shows, yeah, most men, the average height of a man is 5'9", 5'9.5", and their average income might be 43, 45,000. I mean, that's on the high end or higher end. And then it puts you in a category of how many men would be eligible. And then they have a married, unmarried aspect too. How many men would be eligible to be married given what women's criteria if you put in the whole 666? I mean, mine was 0.6%. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm not,
I know you're not joking.
yeah. I mean, it literally, and I would have to go back in and find out, well, where are they pulling it from BLS data or where? I don't know where the undermining data comes from, but I've seen this over and over again where other female content creators, Belijah Blue, I think it is.
Yeah, I know of her.
Yeah. I mean, she has a good podcast, I think. I don't think that she's like a Karen Strawn by any stretch, but, I do respect what she's trying to get women to be aware of. But
Have you heard the stink about her?
No.
Dude, she used to be a prostitute.
Really? I'm not
Yeah.
shocked nowadays. I mean, I would be.
And
years ago.
they have video, or she also danced on a few rap videos and stuff.
All right, so that's Eliza Blue, completely different. She's a fucking twant.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
this is Belia or no, but oh shit. She has her own podcast. I don't have my phone here on me.
I don't generally watch female content, but for you, I'll check it out.
I only I like it because I want to know. And she only has like, I don't know, 184,000 from what I remember. Here, I'm gonna look her up right now. I'm not sub to her, but it's kind of like Pearly Things. I used to sub to her because I was optimistic that if anybody can get the message across, she could. But then again, I just look at her now and go, you saw a niche, you saw an opportunity. You've gone from 10,000 to now over 1 million subs in less than a year. I mean, clearly, I would love to know her demographics. Probably could look up on Social Blade, but don't really care.
Yeah.
It's more of like much like Karen Strong or Bettina Arndt. I would love to know if women are finally starting to wake up.
I bet you if you looked at her demographics, you're going to find that it's 95% men.
Probably. I mean, and sadly, but you're probably right. Elijah, what the fuck is her name?
I don't know about this Elijah person, but the pearly things.
No, Elijah Blue. I mean that woman. Oh God. I mean, she's been one of those that is. I mean, she literally probably did bring down Tim Pool and his main content creator for Timcast IRL, Shane. I don't remember his last name, but yeah, it's like it's.
Tim's
I was.
wounds are self-inflicted.
Oh, Tim. I stopped
He
watching
didn't.
Tim 2 years ago because I just got, man, you literally are a person that cannot take a position, but yet you're always right. And I have no problem for somebody to say, "This is my position. I'm going to put my stick in the sand, stand by it." He didn't do it. He was always waffling. It was like, well,
Yep.
I just went back outside here for a second, but I'll send it to you on Discord. It's
Yeah.
I mean, she has a very nice podcast, but yeah, Elijah Blue, completely different. She's on World Star Hip Hop, like showing her fucking crack ass, dancing when she was in her early 20s, making very suggestive aspects. Child trafficking, well, I won't say child trafficking, but human trafficking. There's pretty ample evidence. Like if you watch The Quartering, he outlines it pretty well to show
Oh yeah, he does.
she was
She
involved.
she lied. How could she? How was she involved? At the same time she's claiming she was being trafficked, she's doing all this other stuff. Obviously happy about her position. Obviously enjoying doing the dancing, bragging about it to her mom. I, I don't think she was trafficked. I think she's
No,
a bullshit artist
absolutely.
looking for victim points.
Yep. Once she got caught out, I was the victim. I mean, literally to where she's now wanting to go after the world star hip hop guys, going, I never gave consent for that. I'm like, bitch, you probably signed, if they're smart, you had a contract signed. I've not seen that, but they're big enough in which that they're you're you don't do any video without getting some type of consent or release form at all.
Right.
That's just standard.
Yeah, and that's
So
big business, and they don't fuck around.
yeah, I mean their industry or their segment of that tens, if not 100 million or more. They're not going to. I mean, shit. If you're on like the street interview or whatever, they may not send you or have you sign a release form. If they're cautious, they will. But if they go up, I was interviewed at a gas pump by a local news station, with high prices and what Biden is doing. They didn't ask me to sign it, but I'm in the public domain. Far different than when you're hired under a contract to provide a certain service. That it would be automatically, here's part of your contract agreement. If you don't sign it, we're not going to have you, in this. You won't be paid. Far different than, street person. It's complicated coming up and asking questions, saying, well, before you or before I release this, you have to sign this non-disclosure or this contract that says you're going to hold us harmless. Now, if he was smart, I would, but I don't think technically he probably should. But different than if you're hired for and you're being paid. You want to cover your ass. Yeah, no, Elijah Blue. It's Betadiah. I don't know if somebody in the chat knows who I'm talking about, but when I go back in, I'll see if I can find her. But I mean, and Brandon, this is what really sucks about engaging with any woman today. She could be completely wrong, but you're going to spend 30,000, 40,000. Most people don't have Johnny Depp money to clear their name. So why fucking deal with them?
No.
I just look at it
Why
like
do it at all? Yeah.
any interaction with them is a potential cause for litigation, of which that most people don't have that kind of money to right the wrong. And there's no repercussions for them.
Look what just happened to Michael Irving.
Yes, excellent point.
Completely fucking innocent. Some bitch was having a bad day at work, and thank God he's a celebrity, and people were videoing him. 3 people came forward and said, "She's lying. Here's what happened."
And his lack of Super Bowl coverage there, I don't know. That probably cost
Yeah,
him
it cost him a couple
3-4 million.
$100,000, or more.
Like, what he would have gotten from that. Yeah, I would think.
I don't know what they pay those guys per episode, but he probably makes 2 or 3 million a year in that job, and then the Super Bowl is just icing on the cake. Maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's 10 million a year. Maybe it's 50 million. I doubt it's 50, but maybe 10-15 million dollars a year. Maybe he gets $1 million a game.
Well, and look at with the long term, like Johnny Depp, the Pirates franchise.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Over $100 million that he lost, in terms of revenue, right? Amber Heard can't pay that. Hell, she couldn't even pay the $7.5 million judgment that was fixed on her based on her own defamation. So yeah,
maybe Elon Musk will pay it for her because he stuck his nose in there.
Yeah, Elon Musk, as much as I like the Twitter files, he's like one of these libertarian simps, in my opinion. Like he wants to virtue signal that I'm not like all the leftist guys on the right or society in general.
And he's not.
He's not. No, he's not. I mean, like Peter Thiel, he's a co-founder of PayPal, as was Elon Musk was. He claims that he is a staunch conservative. He's not.
But he's not.
He's, and I don't even want to get into the whole, given his sexual orientation. I don't give a shit about that, but come on. Like, you can't be a staunch conservative and think that you have sway or recognition within the conservative party if you're homosexual. Most conservatives, I firmly believe, most conservatives do not care, but there is an element within the right wing that family creation, and I do not disagree with that. Like, I don't understand why we uphold people that are trans, or, I mean, hell, did you see that video? I think it was in Alabama. Anyway, this guy, this.
Oh, do you have a penis?
Yes, that guy, right? And she's like, oh,
and they were all like, "Oh, Mom."
I can't believe that you have, like, it literally was a legitimate question. You are supporting people to get transgendered bottom surgery.
Yeah, and she was lying her ass off.
Yeah. Like, just because you
I've never known anybody who wanted a deep transition and they've never had any problems. Blah, 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 blah. I speak from a voice of lived experience. Well, that's a logical fallacy to start with.
Well, and we used to call those people, they were cross-dressers, not trans. Like, literally, if you've not had like sexual reorientation surgery, you're not trans. You can identify whatever the fuck you want nowadays, apparently, but you're not trans. You're a cross-dresser. You're a male that likes to
You're
dress up.
pre-op
Oh, well, there is that. Yes.
and post-op.
I mean,
I don't believe, I don't believe that the medical institutions should ever have gotten in the business of fucking mutilating people to satisfy their mental illnesses.
Yeah, spot on. Like if you have states that I don't, if you saw that one interview with that guy from Texas, that his wife, well, actually not from Texas, but his wife moved her child to Texas, and shocked the hell out of me because I didn't know that Texas allowed kids under the age of 18 to get bottom surgery, but they do.
Oh, Texas is horrible as far as supporting the wife over the man every time, regardless of this of the circumstances. Ask me. I got divorced in Texas. I know how much of a fucking they give you.
Well, it literally like I thought I was somewhat knowledgeable on the whole court system and Title 4D. Never heard of Title 4E. And what this guy explained or outlined and where he took things and where, I mean, he basically at one point, this is like my last hope. Like I hope that I can appeal, but unfortunately appeals are not granted the same way as they are in civil versus criminal. So, and especially in divorce, like whatever your judge says, it's very difficult to appeal that. So
Yeah.
this guy was basically just trying to make sure that his kid could not get that trans bottom surgery, and he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to fight this. Really woke me up. Anyway, that was one good thing about Tim. We'll say that apart from Jack Murphy and Eliza Blue, he has had some good
and others we haven't caught.
Well, there is that, but I will say that he has had some good, I think, content creators that way less so than Joe Rogan, but it just listening to this guy's horror story and what he went through and his fights for appeal. Oh, I just
They had other ones in Texas where the mother was denying the child cancer treatment, and the father is trying to fight to save the kid's life, but because the mother had sole custody, he couldn't get the kid on any type of medical treatment that would have saved his life. And the mother wasn't even letting him see the child until like 8 or 10 hours before the child passed. You remember that one? That was about 2 years ago.
No, I don't, but I'm not surprised at all. Yeah, I mean, literally, like I was trying to tell my TradCon investment guy, men, they don't have ownership of their family. Why would you want to invest in a woman or a family today? At her whim, she can take it all away. You'll pay for it.
Yep.
So, you're talking about, I can't believe there's 7.2 million men that are out of work. I'm like, well, that's only the ones that the BLS doesn't count as looking for work. Far more men have just given up. And then nobody looks at, well, why? They just go, well, you just, it's like, well, so what?
They expect them to just stay pay pigs.
Yeah. Yeah, like, we don't want to hear your reasons why. We just want you to get back onto that cog and keep society running. There's never a question of, so if women choose to divorce 90% of the time, custody is granted. I mean, there's 83% stat, but realistically, it's higher than that.
Low.
Yeah, well, I was going to say 87 to 90% of the time, and then part of that is where the woman just doesn't even show up for custody.
Yeah.
And then you have
I've seen that stat as high as 95%. But I don't know which one of those numbers to trust.
Well, like that 70%, because I got into this with this feminist at this bar, and of course she credited that out. I'm like, well, I mean, that would be the equivalent of me saying, like the OkCupid study, that back in 2012, they found that 80% of women did not find anything but the top 20% of men being anywhere sexually interested to them. If you can extrapolate the difference between 2012 and 2000 now, given the advent of social media, dating apps, um, just the absolute increase of validation because of either sub counts, um, and that brings me to another aspect that I'll bring later when it comes to the manosphere, because I'm a little bit kind of disenfranchised with some content creators today that, like, anyway, won't get into that yet, but I'm like, you can't, you're that 70% then, if you can't, like, just maybe anecdotally understand that what was then now in 2012 and how the dating landscape has changed so much, and how fat phobic, and if you're like, I'm not going to date a trans woman, you're now transphobic. If you don't want to date a heavyset woman, you're fat phobic. You don't see how that 70% or 80% then has not really increased dramatically since then. Like, I mean, I can't give you hard data points to show you, but there
Well,
is.
the rate of marriage has gone down drastically, even in the last 10 years.
Lowest point of marriage and childbirth since 120 years. I mean, we are at
Yeah, since they started keeping statistics. Yeah.
yeah, back in the 1800s or late 1880s. Like, and it's like when you present that, like, well, you need to provide that proof or study. Like, well, I mean, I could, and I've done that before, but whenever I've found that most people that don't believe in it, they discount the narrative of where it came from instead of looking anything further. Oh, that's a right-wing website. Oh, that person, they're an alt-right, they're a conservative.
Well, that's why you don't use, you use the government's own stats. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, like you're fond of, is a great one. Another one, is the Census Bureau.
Good point.
You can't use, there really is only studies out there where you get your 70% for uncollege people without college, and 80% for people with college as initiators of divorce. No, that's a number that is probably a little subjective, but the marriage rate, on the other hand, is a track statistic. There are, lots of government agencies that track the number of divorces. You can track the number of single mothers on the different welfare programs, and those statistics are all out there. And there's the whole one that really pisses them off. Oh, I love this one. It's like, okay, the majority of people incarcerated were from single mothers' homes. The majority of people, convicted of murder are from single mothers' homes. Only one of the mass shooting perpetrators came from a married home or a
Yes.
home with two parents. Just stuff like that, and you can just throw that out all day long, and that's from the DOJ.
Yep.
The Department of Justice has a huge database that's open to the public, because every conviction is a matter of public record, unless you're Jeffrey Epstein.
And look how that was memory hold too. Not to get off track, but look how, like, the client list, now that's been released.
We'll convict Giselle Maxwell of child trafficking. But who did she traffic to? Where's the evidence of the crimes? Oh, don't worry about that.
Yeah, no, it's Brendan. It is. I've gotten to the point in my age where I'm like, when somebody goes, "Well, show me the proof," I give it to them, and they discount it. And I'm like, "Well, where did they get that from?" Here's a link, actually, in the article description where they got that from. And they're too fucking lazy to look it up themselves and look at. Usually, it goes back to the BLS
Oh, it's
data.
cognitive dissonance.
It's just, it's much like the whole fucking jabby dabby. And I'm like, oh, this is coming directly from the CDC or the VAERS or DMED report. If you're that ignorant and lazy that you don't want to look it up, I don't really know that we need to discuss anything more than this. Just
Nope.
you have your opinion, and it's like an asshole. Everybody has one.
And they all stink.
Yep. Like even my own family. Like I was the only one in my family that was
Except
like,
for Shinobi, he's an alien. We don't know what his, means of excrement is. He might not have an asshole. He might poop out of his little finger or something. I don't know.
Shinobi is one of those New Zealanders. Like I never bought into the Kool-Aid. I didn't want
No,
to
but
get
he's an
offended.
alien. He's not only is he from New Zealand, he's an alien.
Oh, in New Zealand. That I did not know.
Yeah. He's been living amongst us for years, but look at his icon. He's alien.
No, I didn't reference that between. I thought it was just more of a philosophical belief. No, I didn't know that he was in New Zealand. So is his backstory? He married a New Zealander, and it wasn't enough to get him citizenship status, or I don't know what they have down there in terms of 5 years to
No,
get
he's
marriage.
from some other planet. He's literally an alien.
Teaches us, Obi-Wan.
Well,
Ah.
yeah, you don't want him to get that close because he also has a probe.
But Brandon, everything we're talking about, this is the shit that like 90% of my focus is on my investments, my work, but there is an element of 10% where I'm just like, I don't know how much more of. I never would have. I mean, when Obama got elected, I sounds so self-righteous, but I would have gladly given up my life to prevent that from occurring. And I'm probably going to get flagged for that. Or Social Security, the SS Nazis. DHS will come out to my home to inquire about what exactly did you mean. But part of me, I want to deal with the normies today. I just like I got my haircut on Wednesday, and I'm like, have you seen about what's going on in East Palestine? No, what's
Yeah.
that? And I'm like, it's like Palestine. Oh, like what's going on over in Israel? And like, no, this is Ohio. It's East Palestine, Ohio. Um, we've given 40 million, but a little over $100 million in economic aid to Ukraine. But we're not willing to declare that a FEMA natural disaster area.
No, I couldn't believe that when I heard it.
And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
but the average, I mean, it's like George Carlin says, and look, I don't think I'm above intelligence. Well, it sounds so fucking conceited. Do I think I'm above intelligence? No. I think that I read more, therefore, I think I probably might know more than the average person does. But if they had that same wherewithal or inclination to read, I wouldn't see myself above them. But most people, they just don't either. Most people don't really care. Like just tell me what to do. Let me go to my 9 to 5, come home, watch my TV. George Orwellian to the extreme. Just I don't.
Oh,
The more I
shit.
know,
Okay. Yeah, keep going. I'm just navigating too.
no, it's like the more they know, then the more they become aware, and the more I won't say depressed, but the more that it incites them emotionally, and especially with a woman, that's just not what they want to do. Like, just know everything's going to be okay. You're going to be taken care of. Um, if you go into supercuts, 9 times out of 10, these ladies are single moms for the most part, or they're single. They don't want to know about politics or how deep does the rabbit hole go. They just want to know everything's going to be okay, honey. You're all good.
Yeah. Yep.
Pooping.
Oh man.
Hey, Carl.
Yes.
Emmy, you back?
Yeah, I've been here all along just listening. And one thing I noticed, I hear the single woman anthem in your in your background. Is that a smoke detector chirping every
It is, brother Poop or brother Emmy. Yes, it is. It's more of my remembrance of Kevin Samuels. Okay, don't judge. No, I've got all right. So I have this fucked up. I've literally changed out 3 batteries. It's hardwired. It's one of those hardwired ones where, like, you could take out the battery. It doesn't matter. Um, so at this point, like, I'm just gonna have to replace the whole unit. But yes, I mean, it's annoyed me for like 2.5 weeks now, maybe more, probably more like 4 weeks. I've done everything that I could. Like, I'm reticent to call my landlord, because I mean, shit like that. Like, I I used to have a couple of rental properties, and I literally had people that if the garbage disposal got stuck, I'm like, have you checked underneath and reset the button? Have you tried that? Well, I don't know exactly how to do that. Anyway, I had to hire a plumber to come out there, and within half an hour he got it fixed, and I got charged like 250 for it. I'm like, and I literally told one, like, she wanted me to change her light bulbs. I'm like, no, that is a wear and tear item. If I have to have somebody sent out to change that, when your renewal comes up, that's going to be factored into your price increase, period. I was so pissed. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. You can't change out your own fucking light bulbs. Anyway, so all that being said, yeah, spot on, Hemi. Like, there is an element of
Yeah.
where,
those in glass houses
oh,
just
believe me,
throwing stones?
believe me, I look at it like whenever I hear that fucking thing chirp, I've gone in and I've taken it down once, and then I'm like, well, I would rather have it up there and have it active, hardwired to at least alert me, God forbid, if something happened, than to take it out going. But
I, I I question whether the breaker to the hard wire perhaps is tripped. Have you checked at the panel to make sure it's still getting 120 volts?
good question. No, I will do that.
It may just be running on the batteries you keep putting in it, and maybe the hard wire is not supplying voltage. Um, or if it's old, I believe they only have a shelf life of like 10 years anyway, and then they start fucking up. So if it's like 10 years old, usually there's a date on the back of them, right? You know.
Well, I had one replaced because I'm like, I've done everything possible. So yeah, no, that's a good point. I have checked electrical outlets that would go dead if I tripped that breaker. And I had one
It,
replaced because it was the original, contractor
it
installing it.
won't have any outlets. It'll be its own dedicated circuit. It'll go to the multiple floors of your house. Its own little 15 ampere on its own it'll be 3 wired. The red wire is the wire that communicates between each head. The black's the hot one. Should have 120 volts on it, and your white will be a neutral.
Okay. No, I mean, great suggestion. I will look at that. 'Cause, I mean, my
Yeah,
dad is.
I don't believe you can put other things on them like on a it's a smoke detector line. It's the whole point of it is
You fucking
no, I
douchebag,
mean,
goddamn fucker.
makes
Brandon.
sense.
What does the NEC say about smoke detector circuits?
I didn't understand a word of what you just said.
Oh fuck. Well, whatever. I tried.
No, Brendan is an ME, not a double E, but no, I think you're right. I mean, I could check that, make sure. I mean, last time I was out there, I flicked made sure there weren't any soft triggers that they weren't secure back to it. But no, I'll check that. I mean, this one is. I mean, the one that went bad was the original smoke detector. So I'm sure whatever I don't know what they use to detect smoke. Whatever there is what is it, cadmium or
Yeah,
there's some.
there's radioactive material inside it, so they have to be disposed of properly. Don't just throw it in your garbage can.
Yep.
It's
And
just radon.
Brandon weren't you a licensed electrician trying to get in the IBEW?
I was an electrician, but I was electrician's apprentice. But yeah.
Oh, an apprentice. All right, my bad.
But I have wired up smoke detectors before.
Are they dedicated circuits, or can
Yes,
they be branched?
they
plugs
have to be by
plugs on
law.
them?
They have to be dedicated.
That's what I thought. So cooping, you shouldn't have any plug. Like if you check in outlets, they're
Now
not on that.
you can have like multiple smoke detectors on the same circuit, but
Yes, of
they
course.
have to have their own circuit.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
That way you
Each
can't
floor,
turn. You can't
is
shut
all
off
on the
your smoke
same
detector
breaker.
if your blender draws too much, and pops your breaker. That doesn't kill the circuit.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, all the floors will all be on one 15 amp breaker somewhere on your panel. Check that first. It may or may not be.
No, I
Next
mean
time you have it down with the changing the battery, put a widow stick on the black wire and see if there's 120 there.
okay.
Go beep 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 beep. Hey, electricity.
No, that's
Or just touch it to ground and see if you pop a breaker.
Oh, or do that, and then you'll identify what breaker it is. Because most panels, although they're supposed to be marked, rarely are.
Yeah. Not that I recommended that, but that's what I would do.
no. I mean, like
Because it's only 110. It's only going to sting a little bit.
it'll curl your hairs on your boss like a little bit. No, that's a good point. I mean, fuck me. I have to go out of town for.
I will not. I don't care how much you ask or how much you pay. You're not getting fucked by me.
Well, I just got fucked by. All right, so anyway, I don't want to. I've helped
Wasn't
out
me.
multiple women in my neighborhood with their dogs.
Oh, you silly bastard.
Electrical. Oh, dude, but I was raised that way. Like, hey, be it a man or woman, that's like, hey, if I can
If
do
they're
it,
older, I'll give you a pass. If they're old people.
well,
No, they're all the same age as him. Simp.
yeah, no, I was, and so I, even though I've helped out multiple people, because I love dogs, and my dog she's part of a breeding program. She's on the cusp of her fertility window, but there is a chance of which that she could still be fertile when I have to board her. And I made that clear to this person on Rover, and she was like, "Oh, no problem. I don't have anybody scheduled." And I emailed her like, "Hey, at 8 o'clock this morning, you don't have anybody there? I just want to confirm we're going to meet tomorrow. Um, for you to check her out, make sure that she's compatible and you're okay with her." And then she sends back at 3:52. "Oh, I apologize. I do have one male intact dog that I'll be watching from the 24th to the 3rd. What is that? 9 days more than what? Or yeah, no, 12 days more. I was going to use her for 4 days." So she was like, "Nope, I don't think I can do it." Which I don't mind, but I'm like, um, part of me is like, okay, I don't think and again, I could probably do it, but it would be somewhat of a risk. Like she's at the latter age or stage of her estrus, and she had on her website like no intact males. And I told her up front, like, this, she's part of this breeding program. She's not spayed yet. She's going to have her delivery. It's part of this nonprofit agreement that I have. I don't technically own her. And then she writes back, what I sent it at 8:32, 3:48. Like, how many hours is that? 7. And she's like, "Oh no, I've got somebody else from the 24th to the 3rd. Apologize, but I won't be able to dog sit." Fuck me. I'm so, dude. I literally I went on Rover and I tried to find a male dog sitter because I just, much like a realtor, I won't deal with a fucking female realtor again ever. I've done that twice. I won't fucking deal with them. Now, my ex-girlfriend actually was a realtor, and she was good at her job, but they're all the fucking same. I'm just sorry. Distraction, and I'm just so fucking pissed right now. I'm like, you literally
Hey,
wasted
Walt. We all
3.
understand.
Yep. Yep. I just want to write back. I'm like, you probably need to update your website. Otherwise, I wouldn't have reached out to you at all. But you needed the money. So yeah. Now I'm like, do I ask a neighbor? And most of them are like, "Well, your dog's very active." I mean, they made every fucking excuse. Like, "Well, I don't really know that I can give her the attention." I'm like, I've come over your place twice a day to feed your dog and your cat. I didn't charge anything for it. It's just like, hey, it took me 20, 30 minutes or whatever. Took him out for a walk with my dog. No biggie. I'm just so done. Sorry, man. I'm just so fucking disenfranchised with this, with our, with women today. If I run into somebody that has self agency, self awareness, I'm shocked. Oh, I'm so pissed.
All right. All of my tablet paperwork is now taken care of. Yay. That's another beautiful thing about driving a truck. I can finish my paperwork in 5 minutes. It's a beautiful thing, I'm telling you. Well, gentlemen, I am here where I'm going to spend the night. I'm 45 minutes away from where I've got to be tomorrow. At what time do I got to be there? I got to be there at fucking. Oh, that's the wrong one. 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I suppose but I got a really good parking space here. So, anyways, remember, gentlemen, no marriage, no cohabitation, and no children. And poop, and Hemi both, but poop, especially if you would stay on the line after I end the stream. I have some things to ask you that I don't want to have out in the open. So, gentlemen, I will talk at you later. Y'all have a good evening. And don't do anything I wouldn't do, and I'll see you on the road tomorrow. We're going to have a long drive tomorrow. I'm going to start at 7 or 5 o'clock 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern time. That means we're probably going to go until about 5 in the morning. So we'll be doing some driving. So peace out, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye bye.